So the answer to where did everybody go? To almost all any friends that I had, I gradually stopped sleeping, and friends would call and call and call and say, "Hey, do you want to go for a drink? Hey, do you want to go to a movie?" And I'd say, "Oh, no, you know, I didn't sleep last night. I only slept 3 hours." And everybody is only going to call so many times, right? Like one friend might call 20 times until they give up. A new friend might call 3 times and give up after that, right? You're not you're not going out and socializing. Well, I still was at times, but generally you're not going out and socializing and having drinks when you've had 3 hours of sleep, right? You're not going dancing or going to a movie when you've had 3 hours of sleep. Everybody just slipped away. But I can go back to one last long time ex-friend that they were a witness to it all. I was being drugged out of my mind. And they were with me in the thick of it and watched it all. And they were being told that I was crazy. I can show you the pharmacy records. I was so drugged up that I couldn't breathe and was drooling. And my friend had no idea what they were looking at. This is what's being done to people. I was on up to 9 powerful sleeping pills and not sleeping. Sleeping 3 hours a night on 9 sleeping pills. And so you know what? Those sleeping pills, those drugs are in your system 24 hours a day. They don't get a chance to leave. And when you're up the next day, you're so drugged up. And I had no idea. I had no idea that I was suffering from severe adverse drug side effects. Unbelievable. My life has been burned to the ground. During those acute withdrawals, my reputation has been burned to the ground. I was out of my mind and being denied the care that I need. I was sleeping 1 or 2 hours a night, fighting for my life, struggling to breathe, being ripped apart with nerve damage from weaning off of those drugs. And that could have been stopped. Being ripped apart, medically, inside, being ripped apart, nerve damage everywhere. I would get into bed, and when I got into bed, I could not lift my arms and legs because of the severe nerve damage. I would get into bed and my lungs would collapse. I was in respiratory failure. Everyone thought I was out of my mind. What has happened to me is unbelievable. And the financial damage, and throughout the years, the financial damage because of this, not one family member came to ask questions. Even when I was in severe, crisis, they showed up a couple times. No one was asking. I think they wanted to go visit the crazy person. They wanted to come and assess how dirty my house was, how out of control things were. No one was asking. And in my mind, so here's the thing, even when all of this was happening, even when I was out of my mind, I still had the wherewithal to understand that I was not myself and I was out of my mind because of what was happening. Yet I also had the wherewithal of their cognitive dissonance, and that they could not understand and they did not believe the truth of everything that was actually happening. And the terror and trauma from what doctors were doing to me during this, while they were misdiagnosing all of this, the trauma and the threat I was under, to be locked up, to be, if, and this is a fact, if they would have taken me and locked me up and forced drugged me, they would have killed me. My respiratory depression was that bad. I was on no medications and I was breathing 3 times a minute. And if they would have done that, and they know that I know that, and they could have done it if they wanted to. My respiratory, you don't think people die in forced medication situations like that? Well, where they'll force drug you to try to calm you down because they think you're having a mental health crisis when you're not? Well, you're out of your mind because you're in acute medication withdrawal, but also acute multiple sleep disorders. And all of that was being misdiagnosed. I was literally fighting for my life to get into the hospital to get assessed for severe sleep apnea and respiratory depression, and I was being denied. Nobody believed what was happening. When I finally got into the hospital, I was stopping breathing nonstop. My oxygen was going as low into the low 70s. And they were mortified that they were misdiagnosing me. And they tried to cover that up. And there's still I have the reports I can prove to you. I have the data and I have the reports. Misspeaking about the data being not reported as it was. And do you think anybody can navigate this? Do you think most families can navigate? Dysfunctional families can't navigate any of this. A family with discernment would have been fighting for my life. Most families are not smart enough. Most families will watch their family member get killed. My family was actively harming me by not showing up, by calling the police. Like, in acute medication withdrawal, there's lots of people who people were calling the police, or family members were having their families were having their family member locked up in psychiatric wards when they're in acute medication withdrawal, and the acute medication withdrawal was being misdiagnosed. My sleep apnea, my severe sleep apnea, all my severe sleep disorders were being misdiagnosed as that I was nuts, that I did that it was anxiety or PTSD. Everything, all the medical crisis here was being misdiagnosed. That's a fact. There's a doctor here. I recently saw his story. He's not here, but I recently read his story. Severe sleep apnea. He was being misdiagnosed as bipolar and locked up and polydrugged. And his reputation was destroyed. And he's destroyed like I am destroyed. Except his story didn't span over 45 years like mine. His story was short term, like for a year or two. And they locked him up, called him bipolar, polydrugged him, and his reputation, he's lost his job, medical doctor. His life was destroyed. Now he's trying to get his life back. But guess what? He's got a medical degree to fall back on. So he's now practicing again. He's lost everything. He's lost his family, his reputation. 90% of the people think he's nuts. And he's trying to establish his work again, trying to establish his reputation. I'm in the exact same thing, only 45 years this has gone on. My entire life has been burned to the ground. I'm severely traumatized. I've lost everything. I don't have a degree to fall back on. And I'm sitting here alone. My life has been destroyed. Half of my family has died in the past few years. The other half are out of their minds. They don't understand what happened here. So here I am. The first night in, more than 20 years, I had 7 or 8 hours of sleep. And I'm going to get dressed. I think it's going to be a pretty good day, despite the severe nerve damage and all the trauma. I think it's going to be a good day. But you know what? I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to go for a walk. That's it. I have no car. I have no social contacts. My entire life has been destroyed. And I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And yet, I'm telling you, it's going to be a good day. Because it probably is going to be. But a good day is, I had sleep, but my entire life has been burned to the ground. I am so traumatized. Like, I'm not I'm not me. I miss me. Everything has been beaten out of me. What the medical system has done to me, all the constant misdiagnosis and the mistreatment and the medical injuries. Guess who gets blamed for all of it? Me, the patient. Well, the patient gets blamed because nobody understands what all went down. And the trauma? I'm left here. I have no money. I have no money and no car to get to trauma therapy. I'm severely traumatized. Medical system, these doctors burned my life to the ground. I'm financially destroyed. I'm in financial crisis. I need a professional oral device for $2,600. I'm in debt from all these doctors. How do a person like me can't even explain to somebody without getting severely traumatized when someone says, where are all your family and friends? There's no easy answer to that. And there's no way to answer that without getting severely traumatized and triggered. People's lives are being burned to the ground. Their health being destroyed and their reputation being destroyed by medical negligence. And family and friends are looking right at you and they have no idea. You're being destroyed right in front of them, and they're not smart enough to figure it out.